Alright, I'm going to try to do some recording on Lab 1. You can see I've got 3 Kali VMs open. I made sure that they all have connectivity. They all have my plug there. These were, I already had an instance of Kali's, so for mine, I had to go and make sure mine were using ETH0, which is wireless network card basically. If up, down, you can check the wired settings on them. You can see this has got 10.0.0.2. I actually updated those under the Etsy network interfaces file and configured it that way. But you can just as easily go right here, go to your wired connection, go to your wired settings, and you can click on those. Just go over to IPv4, click to manual, type in your address and your information there, and you'll be good to go. And you can see I did some pinging. I pinged all the other boxes to make sure that I had connectivity. Now I'm going to do a clear the screen with the Control L. Make sure I'm starting fresh. I'm going to open up another terminal. I use the white background because it stands out better for pen testing and for reports. White with the black text. I'm going to do that for each of these. The reason I'm going to do that is you'll see here in a minute I'm going to have 2 instances running. So in my attack VMs, I'm going to have my client Python script running, and then I'm also in another window going to run my hping3 attack. Over here in my server, I'm going to run TCP dump, which is basically going to act as a packet sniffer for me. So it's going to tell me what traffic is going on, and I'm using TCP dump -nn, so it's not going to resolve names. It's going to give me IP addresses instead of computer names. I'm telling them I'm doing TCP. This is the port that I set up for my server, and that's the host. That's the actual IP address for my server machine. That's this machine's IP address on the internal network. All right, let's take a look at the server Python script. So I use gedit, and I basically, from the lab1 file, from the example here, I just went to that, and here's your server Pi import socket. Now remember, so this area right here is what Dr. Morse said. We need to change that. Basically just change that to your server IP address. So let's see if I did that right here. You can see, yep, it looks almost exactly the same there. I changed my host IP address to 10.0.0.1 with quotes. So we're able to compare that. I'll just do this here. So you can see everything else pretty much exactly the same. I didn't add in the comments, obviously. Let's see, as you can see here, I commented out this print because I didn't want it to print out the actual contents of this my text.txt. Now on that, so as you may recall, in the instructions it says transfer a file from the server, download a large file 1 megabyte or larger to transfer. So if you set up your network on the internal network, you don't have any connectivity to the internet, so there's no place to download. So what I did was I created a 2 megabyte file, and what I did that, this is the code I did that. So you can see that a dd, and here's a command right there, if equals, and then /dev/0. OF, which is the output file, equals my text.txt, which is what I had in the code, as you may recall. My text.txt. And then the BS, so that's the size of it. It's going to be 2 megabytes in the count. I'm just doing one of them. And you could take a look at that. Let's go in there and see, do an ls-la. So it's my text.txt, and so everything else is pretty much the same. All I did was comment out this print. I did leave it the first time, and it did give me, it printed out the content of the file just like Dr. Moore said it would. So, let me find my text.txt. Here it is right here, and you can see the size of it right there. So it's definitely over 2 megabytes. And if we were to look at my text.txt, let's just do a cat, my text.txt here, and just see what it's got in there. Or not. Oh, it's not responding. 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Read write. Well, it's not letting me see what's in there. Let's try gedit again. Oh, let's try this. All right, so you can see it just put a bunch of gibberish in there and then it made it 2 megabytes. So that was just using Vim, which is another editor. Go here. All right. So that was my server.py, and all I did to create that was I literally type in gedit. I called it what I wanted to call it. And then if the file does not exist, it will create it for you. I began typing because this is .py. It did all the color coding. You do all your indentation. Just hit save. You exit out of that, and then you just type in Python server.py, and boom. So it's listening right over here. TCP dump is still, it is, so you can see verbose output is suppressed. So I'm not having it do a lot of output, but it is listening right now on port 60,000 with the host of 10.0.0.1. Nothing is coming through currently. All right, let's go into my TAC, one of my TAC machines here. Get back into there. So, what did I do over here? Pretty much the same thing. Gedit, except this time, obviously I did the client py. Just as you may recall over here, you had, this was all the server, separate file, client py. All I did was change this here to host equals, you guessed it, in quotes, 10.0.0.1. And there you go. Now this one's a little bit longer than that because I went ahead and added to it time to transfer using the Python library, import time using time.time. So when you go ahead and take a look at that, I put that in there already. So originally I just did client.py, but then I added in our import time, here's a clock start, time clock, and so that will time how long the transfer of the 2 megabyte file took. So you can see where I hashed or commented out receiving data and then actually printing what the data was that it actually sent over, and for that reason. So as stated previously, it was just a bunch of gibberish. All right, click save, just exit out of that like that. Same as on the server, just do Python and the name of the Python script. Here, it's in the same working directory that that I'm in. Yeah. All right, now watch this TCP dump over here when I hit enter over here like this. So file open, file close. Here's your output. Successfully got the file. Take a look at all this data, and you can see. So the IP is 10.0.0.3. That's the machine. There's support that it communicated on. 2. Here's my server on port 60,000. Flags I got an acknowledge, and you can see that. So that's a pretty good sniffer, almost similar to Wireshark. So you can see what this is good for. It's when you're doing some type of pen testing. When you're running a command that's not showing you output, which is what the verbose is for. Usually when you run a command, you can use your sniffer over here and actually confirm that it's actually doing stuff. That's going to come into play when we run our hping 3 to now have service over here in that terminal. So that's how we can tell when we've actually flooded the server when it stops responding. So let me see if my other machine here, if the client Pi over here, so I cloned my VM machine again, my attack machine. So it already had my client script saved in there. So there it is again. You can see over here, got connection from point 2 this time. This is the port it's using, 44458. Server received, hello server, done sending. Boom, it's just the same again. You can see how fast it took. So 0.098 milliseconds there, and then you got 0.0577 here. Again, that's a 2 megabyte file, and you can see here we go again. So you got your acknowledgments, and because it's all TCP, so that's sends and your ACKs there. All right. So we were also, so I got both of those talking to each other. It's transferring that 2 megabyte file. Use hping 3 to perform a denial service from your client. All right, so from a terminal in the VM, running your server, so against the VM running. So simple syn flood. So it had the example here. So very good example. Very simple one-line command that you take a look there, and it's super very easy to use. You can see the command right here. Very quick, and you can see what it is that you're actually sending, the number of packets, the size of each packet, just send packets. Simple send flood, that's what we're supposed to be doing, just like we said. And then you've got these dash fast, faster, and then flood options. So let's run our denial service here. Let's start doing hping 3, which is basically we're pinging, right? All right, so let's see what we got here. There's my hping 3. You can see just like on the website, we're going to flood. I'm going to use a random source so it doesn't look like it's coming from my 10.0.0.3s or 10.0.0.2. I'm going to hit run on that. You see it's hping in flood mode, and start looking over here. Start looking at all these different random IP addresses here. You can see, and look at all the ports that they're using, 60,000, because that's the port No, I didn't tell it to use a port over here in the command. All right, so the machine here, let's run the ping, hping 3 on this one as well. There we go. And then bam, so that one's running too. So then you can go back over here into this one and we can run our client script again to say, hey, I need that 2 megabyte file. Bam. You can see it's still working, and you can start seeing there's 10.0.3 IP address over here. And look at that time. So it's about a normal time, so it's not flooded yet. We'll go over here, run it down here as well. Almost identical times here. So nothing too bad yet. And so what I've seen is it takes about 5 minutes, just like the gentleman on the website said. It took him about 5 minutes to complete, make the machines unresponsive. That's a definition of denial of service, obviously. And that's why I have my TCP dump packet sniffer here, because you'll see in about 5 minutes, if I were to let it run that long, this will just stop, and it'll just stop doing. And then I'll try to run the client Pi again, and it'll just hang. So, matter of fact, it's just hanging right now. So it's trying to, it's being flooded with so many requests that it's not even responding right now. So we may have already succeeded in crashing the server. Take a look at our TCP dump. Got no more traffic. Nothing's coming across. Our client script's not been able to contact the server anymore. We may have succeeded. Well, there you go. Took less than 5 minutes. Well, there you got it. So successful hping 3 attack against our server on 10.0.0.1.